Oh, the city clerk report?
First thing I wanted to go through with you is a budget amendment due to ice storm. What was it? Ice storms and quite a few different things we go over here. We need to have this budget amendment. So what is printed is on page 12 is what shows up in the newspaper next week. Okay? And then the explanation, the actual explanation of the expenses then is on page 13. As a legal issue, we can't expend money over the amount that had been budgeted. So a lot of this has already been spent. It's kind of an after the fact budgeting to bring the budget in line with what's been spent. When you do a budget amendment, you do not need to amend for increased revenues. But we certainly do to give an accurate representation of what ending fund balance would be too. So, as we look through the top of that, and you go down to other city taxes, we started to repay ourselves for some of that TIF debt. Okay, licenses and permits, pet licenses were up last year, $450. Use of money in property, which is interest and building rentals primarily, but that's also up as a repayment of that TIF debt too. Okay. Intergovernmental revenues, $828,000. A lot of that coming from FEMA, and then also that trail grant. That trail grant's over $100,000 on that. Charges for service is $123,000 higher than what we had budgeted. Due partly to electric rate increase, due partly to these reimbursements that we get from MISO that show as a revenue when we get them reimbursed back to us. Miscellaneous was $47,000 was library fundraising. In this kind of catch-all thing called other financing sources, that's where any of our interfund transfers show up there too. So $855,000, but these are some transfers. When we received any FEMA money, it had to go into an account that we had predetermined for receipt of FEMA money and then get transferred to the department for which it was incurred. Same thing on debt service. Whenever you pay debt service, it has to be paid out of the debt service fund. So we ended up making these transfers for that $300,000 that we repaid back to the local banks. Okay, and then on the expenditure side of things, public safety, vehicle operations and maintenance was up a little bit this year, and that would be $7,000 more. Culture and recreation is $2,000 higher. Having to do with tree removal is a good portion of that. A couple $1,000 extra on tree removal. Community and economic development is actually down just a hair. That Sac Beach debt service was a little bit less than what we had budgeted. General government is up $26,000. That Boulder's incentive payments in there, that's $25,000. And that nuisance abatement, the removal of that trailer is included in there too. That was an unbudgeted expense. Debt service, it's $302,000, but again, that's repaying that $300,000 of the emergency debt. Capital projects was up $287,000. It's the timing on this Ice House Point Trail. We had it budgeted for the year prior. So, Ice House Point Trail, that library project, which was right at $90,000, and the streetscape final payments included there too. On the business and enterprise expenses are $580,000 higher than what was budgeted. Two things primarily. That November ice storm was about $300,000 on that November ice storm. Wholesale power costs and our involvement with MISO dramatically higher than what we had thought when we budgeted. Transfers out, again, that $855,000, you will see that transfers in always equal transfers out. So, expenditures, this is the excess revenues or other sources over the expenditures and transfers out. So, for this amended budget year, we would spend $194,000 more than we took in. Okay. But having said that, our projected fund balance at the end of the year is $772,000. Make sense? So that public notice runs in the paper this week. We do need to have a public hearing on this budget amendment that will occur at the council meeting on the 16th. That always needs to be done prior to the end of May because there is a 30-day appeal period if somebody would want to appeal the budget amendment. Okay.
Ice is expensive.